What's going on, guys? Dom here, and it seems the person who put out those leaks a little while ago, right before the direct, have put out more, or at least this person's trying to portray that they are. We can't tell because they always post anonymous. They don't have any precise usernames for us to track exactly who's who, to be honest. But they, I guess they're trying to sell it the same way by utilizing the same picture of Ben Affleck with a cigarette in his hand. I guess that's what they're going with nowadays. So we're gonna go with first line. Other Pokemon receiving new Gigantamaxing forms are all 4 of the Tapu legendaries, which will become masked to become giant colossi. I'm not sure exactly if I'm picturing that correctly. You're saying that the Tapu legendaries, that they already kind of look like masks because they can close up their shutters or whatever, or clamp down or whatever it is. They're going to become masked and then become ginormous Pokemon. I mean, it says Gigantamaxing. That's weird because I figured that the Dynamaxing was the becoming colossal feature, and I was assuming Gigantamaxing was going to be something along the lines of possibly like armor evolution or spirit armor, or whatever that other thing that they've been hinting at is supposed to be coming out. Charizard, Flygon, Tyranitar, Hydreigon, and Volcarona will receive Godzilla-inspired design changes with their Gigantamaxed forms. Okay, so this is supposed to be, obviously it says Godzilla, this is supposed to be in line with that whole thing they mentioned at the direct, which is kind of a thing that it seemed one-off because the guy who was, I guess I'm assuming they partnered with, was it Toho or something like that? I think that was like a movie theater or something, the guy who's involved with Godzilla somehow. And they're saying these Pokemon that are supposed to be mirroring the monsters from the Godzilla movie or the Godzilla universe are supposed to be getting Gigantamaxing forms. Now, it seems like you're trying to say that the difference between Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing is that Dynamaxing any Pokemon can do, but Gigantamaxing is like something that's specific to one Pokemon. So Charizard, if you Dynamax a Charizard, you'll get a large Charizard, but if you Gigantamax a Charizard, you'll get something that's supposed to be similar to Godzilla. It's something very specific to a Pokemon that not another Pokemon will turn into. So if you Gigantamax Blastoise, you won't get the Godzilla feature that Charizard gets. I think that's what they're trying to portray here, guys. Flygon, I'm not too familiar with all the creatures. I'm assuming Tyranitar is supposed to be Godzilla. Volcarona is supposed to be Mothra, I believe, and there was it has to be Hydra something. I didn't see the movie, and I don't really keep up too much with all the Godzilla stuff. I'm not a ginormous fan of Godzilla, so I couldn't tell you exactly which ones they are, but I'm pretty sure you guys will figure that out on your own. Rotom, who takes control of the entire stadium to fight. So Rotom definitely has that whole thing where he takes control of an appliance or something along those lines. He's done it with household appliances, yard appliances, obviously the lawnmower form, and he's done it with our Pokedex, and it seems he's doing it again with a smartphone. So he's taken, is that the largest thing he's taken over has to be one of those appliances. Now, is it possible that Rotom can take over the entire stadium and use it to fight? Because it seems like the things that Rotom he takes over uses electricity. Now, the stadium, any stadium I've ever been to, baseball, football, anything you want to talk about as far as like a stadium, electricity is obviously involved in that when it comes to more like the lights. But if you're talking about a stadium that completely utilizes the movement or something that's it's powered by electricity, you can probably think about the new stadium that got put up in Atlanta, Georgia a little while ago. I think it like opens up and moves, and it's all like super high tech and everything. But a stadium more or less is like a building of like stone. It's or whatever material it's made out of nowadays. But also talking about a super high-tech stadium, but then again, this is Pokemon. A super high-tech stadium is completely plausible. We've seen it to where the stadiums in Pokemon have risen up, but that's actually the field. That's the battlefield and not the stadium, come to think of it, because the battlefield will like raise up and they'll switch out the actual like field to where it goes from grass to rock or something along those lines. But the entire stadium is not electric unless maybe I'm missing something. That can Rotom take over something that doesn't involve electricity? I'm trying to remember, but I'm almost positive almost everything he can take over involves electricity some way, shape, form, or fashion. It's usually the entire thing, because Obviously, not the entire stadium is going to be powered by electricity. I mean, the seats aren't powered by electricity. So it's like, can he take over the seats? No, because the seats are probably like it's probably just a certain part of the stadium. An entire stadium taken over by one rotom. There's multiple rotoms in the world. That would be interesting to see. I'm kind of unsure on that rotom one, to be honest with you. After becoming champion, the player will be giving meat. I'm assuming giving meat their manager Alon, who will help with sponsorships, hosting tournaments, and creating advertisements and posters that can be seen around Galar. So just that right there, I think we've seen it to where the champion Leon, there's a shot of him on the back of his coat, his cape. He has multiple sponsors with the stickers lined up. If you guys have ever seen NASCAR or any sport, you'll see like the sponsors named somewhere on like a jersey or something on those lines. So I wouldn't put it past them to give us our own stickers or our own sponsorships in the game. It was mentioned, or someone mentioned it on Twitter, I believe, I can't remember who, that Milo, however you want to say his name, Milo and Leon don't have the same sponsors. So the gym leaders don't necessarily have the same sponsors as the champion. It's pretty much like a team. For example, if you want to give Kawhi Leonard, who is playing for the Toronto Raptors at the moment, he's sponsored by New Balance. He doesn't have a deal like everyone else with Nike or Adidas. So you can be on the same team with someone but have a different sponsor. It's perfectly plausible. So this is not something that's completely out of the realm of possibility in the real world. During these missions, provides money and unlocks new outfits. I'm assuming he means doing these missions. TMs and access to additional locations of wild area. I believe the guy who did the first one, his English wasn't too good, so it's possible that this is the same person. I'm unsure. I don't want to tell you it is, but it's seeming like that. He's missing simple things, but I miss things all the time when I'm typing or even talking, so it's no big deal. There are over 98 new Pokemon, more counting form changes. Okay, so I like that he separated that. Instead of including the form changes, he said just 98 new Pokemon total, which I was hoping for somewhere around that number. My guess was 75 to 95, but that's awesome. It means we're getting more than 100 clearly. Potentially very single Pokemon can be obtained in the through online raid battle events. Okay. He's saying that there are certain Pokemon that can be obtained through the online raid battle events. Obviously, I can read through typos, so that makes perfect sense. I mean, there has to be some incentive, right? Because in Pokemon Go, if I can get a Flygon by just catching it, just on a regular basis, like a common, what's the point of me doing a raid battle? You know? So that makes perfect sense. Game Freak plans to have monthly online raids planned, which is something they do now. They do that right now with Pokemon Go, so nothing new there. Alongside events hosted at local retailers, which would that could be community days. The way Pokemon works is merchandise is a big thing, so they're gonna start on these events and start selling tickets for them. And what's going to happen is you're going to want to bring your Switch, obviously, your smartphone. So that's going to incentivize you to go into the Pokemon Center. Well, I am, because I'm in Japan, or somewhere else, to buy a battery charger, because the battery life on some of these things aren't long if you're going to be utilizing them, especially if you're using the online services for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I gather that your Switch will not last as long as you think it would. So they're definitely going to probably package it with something, sell it on Amazon, have it as like Amazon's top choice. You know how they have those on Amazon, and the Pokemon company is going to be a Nintendo product, and it's going to be licensed for Nintendo, and that's the one that they're going to want you to buy, even though there's probably going to be better ones out there that you can find on your own. That's how that goes. Merchandise is everything. One of the first raid battles planned is Torterra to coincide with Detective Pikachu, with the Detective Pikachu movie, which I can't wait. Torterra is an amazing Pokemon. He did the scene in the movie was actually pretty good. It was one of those like, wow, they actually did that with this one Pokemon. They really took it that far with how that experiment could actually go, which I think is cool. But it makes perfect sense. Torterra in the movie was a gigantic moving tectonic plate. So this is saying that most likely there's going to be a Torterra with some special a Gigantamax, most likely, because if Charizard, Flygon, Tyranitar, Hydreigon, and Volcarona are getting special forms, that means Torterra would most likely get his continent form that from the movie. That would make the most sense to me if you're going to utilize Torterra as the first one, the first like raid battle to get something special out of. Leon is Team Yell's anonymous leader who uses his social media and power of fandom to target and damage trainers' reception, so they lose sponsorship, in order to remain an unchallenged champion from trainers who he thinks could beat him. Now, I'm unsure if he meant to use the word reception. Perhaps reputation could have been better used there, but I'm not here to fix this guy's mistakes, because I make mistakes myself. I'm not perfect, you know. So that is something very human that you see and you read in books, that there is someone who's like who's on top. Not he's on top. He wants to maintain his status, so he'll do whatever he can in his power to steer clear of someone else who could dethrone him from whatever he's accomplished. Which is, if that's the twist they're going with him, that is amazing. I like that it was interesting to see that they put the champion out first. I think his reveal came out first before Hop. I can't remember which, but him being revealed so quickly was something astounding. I'd never seen it before, a champion being put out that early. And if he's going to be so integrated with the story, which previous champions have, they've been helping you out along the way. But if his role is going to be in the end where he's going to try to like sabotage you in some way, that is a really good plot twist right there. Let's move forward. He thinks Sonya purposely let him win their match years ago and feels weak. Okay, so he has a complex. I guess that adds on to his character. It gives him some more depth. He captures the other version's legendary in order to feel powerful, despite leaving Galar unprotected by the evil legendary Eternatus. So he captures the other version's legendary. So if you're in Sword, he gets the shield, and then in order to feel, despite leaving Galar unprotected. So this is something that goes into, I'm not sure if this is a past thing where this has happened before the events of the game takes place, or it happens during the games where he captures it and then he leaves it unprotected. So the evil one is Eternatus. It's so much you could do there. You could put that before the on the game's events, during the game's events, in the maybe possibly in the post game. You could really do so many things with that right there. With that, there's just that one sentence is just so many ideas come to mind. Eternatus has the power to control the minds of Pokemon and Gigantamaxing and Dynamaxing them into raid Pokemon. Okay, so if you guys are fans of what's that anime called? Don't make me forget. Not Sword Art Online. Wow. Attack on Titan. There's a Titan on there that has the ability to turn humans into Titans. It sounds like Eternatus has that same ability, but I'm not sure. So he controls the minds of them, and he tells them to go off and, like, I guess, cause destruction, or is he the one causing the rifts to cause the Pokemon to slow down the hero, the protagonist, to getting towards him? We're unsure on exactly how that works, but it's a really interesting thing to see that another Pokemon can force other Pokemon to do something against their will, to where they're gaining more power. That's very interesting. That he's just evil, making them do whatever he wants. It's the first outright evil Pokemon and can only be caught via Dynamax. In order to use Eternatus, the trainer must purify his evil by befriending, playing, and petting it at camps. Okay, so this kind of reminds me of Shadow Lugia from, I believe it was XD Gale of Darkness. I played it on the GameCube, where Shadow Lugia could only be caught through that battle, and in order for you to purify him, you had to put him in the purification chamber with I think a bunch of other shadow Pokemon to purify him, and that was a pretty cool thing. It sounds like that's what's going on here. This guy, capture him, he's still evil after you capture him. He's still in the shadow Pokemon phase, and then you can go ahead and do whatever you can to bring him to your side. So most likely you will not be able to utilize this Pokemon online until you purify him. So that's the incentive for you doing it. So they have to make him somewhat powerful. But the interesting thing is that it's the first outright evil Pokemon. Now I beg to differ on that, because Mewtwo, in his multiple dex entry says that it has the most savage heart of any Pokemon. Like, of course, movie Mewtwo is like he had a change of heart and things happened to where he changed, but that necessarily doesn't 100% changed him from being outright evil, because essentially he was outright evil in a sense. Unless this Pokemon is simply just, I'm evil, I'm gonna do bad things for the sake of doing bad things. And if you compare that to Mewtwo's motive was that he didn't want to be controlled. He was tired of whatever the humans had done to him, and he was going to right those wrongs in any way that he felt necessary. That can be seen as more of a liberating personality than an evil one. So I guess if this Pokemon is just straight up evil for the sake of being evil, then that would make sense. But that would be a big drop. A big drop on the Pokemon's plot. I think if they gave him a reason to be outright evil, it would make more sense than just saying he's evil for the sake of doing it, because that's not really fun. Everything here is worded pretty well. It's given it's presented as an amazing story that I would love to read in a book. I would love to watch the anime to see how this plays out in the anime and how all this works with the legendary Pokemon and Leon. I'm picturing in my head the end of this story. Leon is shouting, "I'm the strongest, I'm the best, you have to listen to me." And the evil Pokemon Eternatus, or Eternatus, however you want to say it, he looks at him, he's like, "No, I don't. You're not. You're not what you think you are. So you don't control me." That may be something to like the ultimate downfall of the character if this is true. So that's my thoughts on this. We'll just scroll down a little bit to see what is everyone thinking down here, which I probably shouldn't do. Piggybacking, blah blah blah. Yeah, so some of them are saying, hey, this guy isn't the same person because of the way that he speaks. But I don't want to go ahead and go on the side of saying this is real, but it's not too much for someone to correct their mistakes and get better at typing. I mean, that's not too far-fetched for anyone. But that's me getting into another argument altogether, and I don't want to do that right now. So I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. Peace, love, and Pokemon to all of you. Dom out.